Okay, so now that a lot of Americans are waking up and realizing that we're in an oligarchy, I want to explain like how an oligarchy retains power and why protesting, going like on a march, holding up signs, calling your politicians, signing petitions doesn't do anything. Like it's not going to change things because the way that an oligarchy rules is so much more complex than that. And I know you motherfuckers have short attention spans, but this is important, so stay the fuck with me, okay? The first way is convincing the American people that the system is fair. Like hard work pays off, or you need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and you'll be successful. For example, many Americans are working 2 jobs, they have a side hustle, they're working so hard, yet they're not becoming wealthy. They're barely scraping by, and the system wants you to believe that that's your fault. Then on the other side of that, if you amass $1 billion, then you must deserve it because that's what the free market awarded you. The idea that anyone can succeed if they work hard enough is false, and let me explain why. The reality is that today in America, your opportunities or where you fit into the system mostly depend on where your parents stand in that system, aka how much they earn, how much education they have, and who they know. Okay, let's look at education for a second. Data from the Department of Education shows that 10 years after starting college, the top 10% of earners from all universities make about $68,000 a year. But for the top 10% of graduates from the most prestigious universities, that number jumps to $220,000. Wealthy parents do so much shit to get their kids into these elite colleges. Bribery. We all saw on the news paying people to take their children's tests, like. Now let's lightly touch on the topic of geographic segregation and education. Race is such a huge factor in this, and for people listening to that and you think, oh no, race doesn't play a role, blah, 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 shut the fuck up and listen to this fact, okay? School districts that are predominantly white get $23 billion more funding each year than districts that serve predominantly students of color. There's been so many studies that show how important early education is in a child's brain development, and for wealthy people, they can afford to pay for music, poetry, putting their kids in sports, but poor people, they cannot. Like, they don't have the means to do that, and so that plays a big part in their child's brain development. The second way an oligarchy retains its power is through bribery. And other countries do bribery in like a much more obvious way, but America does it in a more subtle and perfectly legal way. The most obvious way is lobbying. These corporations are lobbying for lawmakers to create laws that benefit them, and a lot of the times it's not good for the American people. So basically the government is sitting there taking money from the corporations and making laws for them. They're not making laws for you, they're making laws for the corporations. Another way that corporations influence policy is a very similar way in which they donate to particular candidates who they know will listen to them and pass laws that will benefit them. Another way, bribing journalists and their news outlets, and this is something that we are seeing a lot of recently. Jeff Bezos, The Washington Post, among some other ones. Some more subtle ways of bribery are wining and dining journalists in Aspen, giving large donations of money to universities, and these universities then don't go and publish studies that would negatively affect the way that these corporations look among the American people. Or donating a mass amount of money to public television, and then the public television doesn't post a documentary that criticizes that corporation or their CEO. The third way an oligarchy retains its power is probably the one that we see the most, or at least I recognize the most, and that is diverting the public